The 12th of June 2025, it's wet. It started raining about 7, just when I was having the cuppa, and everything's wet. I think it'll ease off a bit, maybe, and clear off. I don't know. Like that, I'm kind of tight down here. I have cows come to calve and some heifers coming ready to calve. And they're so expensive and so valuable at the moment that I just have to watch them, because you never forgive yourself if one of them dies or anything goes wrong. Touch wood. Anyway, folks, this is about the Kerry Garda investigation into the murder. Is he Michael Keane? I just forget the name, but anyway, you know the man. He went missing down in Kerry. And people asked for my opinion. And I'm not going to start a tirade of how investigations take place, but I want to just bring back, because I have a lot of new subscribers. You know that certain people are going on about Mary Boyle. She went missing, a young girl over in Sligo. It was believed a Christian brother did it. And the Garda arrested a fella, and there was all talk they could have got more out of him or done a better job. Anyway, it was never solved, and I don't think it ever will be. There was the other one then, that the Kerry Baby case. And in that case, a girl called Joanne Hayes, I think she's still around, admitted having a baby, and there was talk of 2 babies. And the late Dr. John Harbison, a man whom I had great time for and knew him very well, he got Alzheimer's or some brain degeneration in the last couple of years, and he passed away about a year ago. Dr. John Harbison. And some medical doctors always said he was a butcher, and a lot of guards all thought he was a butcher. I could never see how a pathologist could investigate a death without cutting up a body. I'm at a loss for that. That's something I never could get my grip into. I never could understand that. How you can call a pathologist a butcher. It just misses me. There's some things I'm smart now, but not that smart. Anyway, she told them in the station that she left the baby in a hedge. And dead, I think, that the baby was dead, which is all a suspicion. But the guards didn't bring her out to show. And there was criticism over that, and they changed the law since. Now, some of the investigators who were very high profile, and are nearly all passed away, there was Jerry O'Carroll, who else was it? There was a chap from Kerry. There was a Superintendent Brown. But they would come up to my area as promoted to inspectors. We couldn't get promoted inspectors in our division, in the North East or the North Midlands, because they were always kept for these whiz kids. And they'd be out with me, or they'd be talking about it, and they knew bloody everything. They knew everything. We were only country curmudgeons. And I remember saying one time to them, do you realise the whole Kerry Babies was a codology? What are you on about? It was a murder. It was not a murder. It was infanticide. It's a baby. It's a life. No, it's infanticide. Under the Infanticide Act, and I haven't researched this, of 1949, a woman who has a baby and kills her baby, and kills it, is only guilty of infanticide, and the penalty is 1 year maximum, if any. It's not murder at all. Folks, if you don't like what I'm telling you, you know where the off button is. Push it off there. I'm telling you the law. I didn't make it. Get on to De Valera and the Fianna Fáilers and the Fine Gaelers. They made the law, not me. There's 60 senators employed to make sure it's made right, and you blame Val. So the whole Kerry Baby thing was all to do with a maximum sentence of 1 year. Blown out of all proportion. And now the thing is, if they were afraid of the brother out, that they'd break the continuity of her detention in the Garda station. And they changed the law on that. Guard now can bring a prisoner out to see the scene. Makes common sense. But look at how long it took. Now, remember, folks, that your grandparents voted Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, and they only brought out a law to enable a person to be detained in custody in a Garda station for questioning. If a madman went mad with a sword and stabbed 6 people in Dublin, there was no law. The Criminal Justice Act 1984, Section 4, there had to be a power of arrest to start with. So you couldn't detain him for holding a street collection. There had to be a power of arrest, such as for a serious assault. Couldn't do it for being found on a pub after hours. If it was a firearm possession, it had to be with intent to endanger life. When the guard could arrest him, he could bring him to the Garda station and hold him for 6 hours, and he could get an extension of that time. And he could ask him for questions, and he could fingerprint him and photograph him. And those have to be destroyed if there's no prosecution. 1984. I personally, as a former Garda, often saw us and other guards inviting criminals to come to the station. So a fella would go mad and burst up the nightclub, grab the takings of the till and come out drunk, and he'd make it off, drive off down the road 40 mile away, and we'd follow him, and when we get him there, all we could say, we want you to come back, please. And he could tell you to go to hell. And that was the law until mid-1984. And when they brought it in, they brought in a whole heap of protections for the criminal. That's still used. So Mary Byles' murderer couldn't be arrested anyway. You could only bring him in and charge him. And you were entitled to type out your charge that you, the said defendant, did on such and such a date, murder so-and-so, Kathleen McGonigal, contrary to common law. And you had to read it. That's all you could do. How many people in Ireland know that? No, because you have radio, television and the papers which report nothing. They give you the mushroom treatment. You don't know what that means. Inquire. That was the law. And it was so ridiculous that in 1939, when the Provost, or the then IRA, was threatening the state and seen as a serious threat, and in my humble opinion, they were a serious threat. I couldn't list all the guards they killed. In my time, I'd say that many, maybe, I'm not sure. Right, they brought out the Defences Against the State Act, and it had 5 scheduled offences. I'm going by memory here. The Firearms Act. Any breach of that enabled him to be arrested for Section 30, held for 1 day and extended for another day on the authority of a chief superintendent. So, Firearms Act. The Explosive Substances Act 1875. Gel-igniting and things like that. But even a banger now, a squib, would do. The Protection and Conspiracy to Property Act. There's a part of that about waylaying people going to work and setting out to stop them going to work. The Offences Against the State Act itself. That's been a member of an unlawful organisation. And the last one is the Criminal Damage Act. And there was one case down the country where a lad in a fit of anger split the pan, a metal frying pan, down on another person's head and killed them. And the pan cracked. It split. And the only way the guards could arrest the suspect in about 1983 was to say that he committed criminal damage to the frying pan. If it had to be his own frying pan, you can't be convicted of criminal damage to your own frying pan property. But you can be convicted if it's the property of somebody else who makes a statement giving you no permission to break it. So because the dead person, could be assumed, did not give permission to give him a frying pan to kill him, they arrested the person under Section 30 of the Defence Against the State Act for banging a frying pan off the person's head, which had nothing to do with the political crisis in the country in relation to northern violence. That's what your Fine Gael did. That's what your Fianna Fáil did. Talk about it. Liam Cosgrave. Well, he tried to fix it a bit. Well, why did it take them so long? Right through the 60s. Oh, nothing. Trouble started in 1969. It was 79. It was 15 years from the riots. First trouble started. And about 12 from Bloody Sunday. Just giving you the timescale. That they brought in law to arrest a person for crimes. Imagine I myself being faced with the indignity of inviting a person to the station. Yeah, he could walk out anytime. And they couldn't believe there was no power. That's how you got some of them in. They thought there was. And then you had to caution them that they were not obliged to say anything unless they wished to do so, but anything they may say could be taken down in writing and may be given in evidence. And I think that rule is a bit stupid, tell you the truth. It's the judges' rules of 1912. I think it's a bit stupid. I'd say definitely he'd have to the person taking the statement would have to be in authority. They'd have to say, I'm a guard, I'm a judge, I'm a solicitor. But I think that once they say, where were you? Did you? Oh, I killed him all right. I did. I think that's evidence. It's not as good of evidence as if he was cautioned that he doesn't have to make a statement. But they have mended that in many places where you have to make a statement. Anyway, I digress a bit there. Maybe we shouldn't go into that too much. But just understand that. Now, I'm on 11 minutes. And now we go to this Michael Gain. Isn't that his name? He's not Gaines. He's Gain, I think. Right, the man went missing down in Kerry. Now the guard searched. The first thing was the silage pits. They did understand the silage pits was important. For one thing, he could have fallen in, but I think that's not the case. The information now is the body was partly dismembered. We needn't go there. So how would I have handled it? You see, if you agitate the slurry to get the sucker to work on the spreader, you're disturbing the whole scene. But I think you'd have to get some of the slurry out. You can hire out a pump without pumping it into the slurry tank. So it's possible that it could have been pumped out gradually into some kind of a big container and then sucked out of that by the slurry. And even in a murder, if you had to dump it down the field where the man was dead, I wouldn't be too worried about it. Other people will say I'm wrong. But I'd have tried to get out some of it. But I'm not just making little of that. That was difficult to do. So what would I have done? I'd have got a rubber duck. Rubber duck. I can see the Dublin jackasses stuck in Finland and everywhere else. A rubber duck is an excavator, a bit like a Hitachi EX120. An EX100 is my one, EX120. That's all you needed, no bigger. But it's on rubber wheels. Instead of being tracks, it's on rubber wheels. You can also get some of the 8-ton diggers on rubber tracks, whatever floats your boat. But I'd have got the rubber duck. I'd have got a wide scoop on it, a wide bucket. There's a bucket made, and there's several companies doing them, that scratches lawns. So if you have a rough field, it'll scratch it down nicely. And it has this type of a thing, you see. They're about 5 feet. They're about that width. I have a plain one, a full one. You know, a one that is you can lift up stuff. But these have teeth. And the water would go through them. So I would have taken off the front barriers. Now, it's possible this slurry tank was inside. Even so, you can still work it. But you'd have to have the right operator. Oh, it's very difficult. I've worked mine maybe for a week beside old buildings, and it'd get your nerves, it would. And then I make one mistake and I damage the building. You need to be cut out for it. But even in a murder, these things happen. But I wouldn't put an inexperienced person using it, because some people can just comb your hair with it, you know. You put it on just the second notch of the throttle and you just go nicely. Now, if you had that, I'd lift the slats up for half of the tank. get them out of there. Mark them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and from the edge so you can put them back. And then I'd put down my bucket and slowly go down to the bottom till it touches the bottom, going along the side. Do you see it here? I'd go. See how I have a boot here? Yeah, I'd go down along here, and I might, for the start, pull one a third of the way down. Turn it, let it up. Down another bit, let it up. Down another bit, let it up. Keep pulling over. Or go across with a 1 metre deep sweep the whole way over, and then go lower and lower. And if you had to do it twice, and be very careful, and have two banksmen or bankswomen, people to watch. And then when you get halfway over, lift the other ones. Now, I don't know, would you put back the ones? I wouldn't. But if you leave a slurry tank uncovered, it's highly dangerous. Well, put a guard there, sure, there's enough of them. Or get a security crowd or something and put big noses. But I would have swept that whole thing. Do you understand me now? You understand? So that's how I would done it. And if there had to be a body part there, that would lift it. You could also maybe, I'm not sure if it was possible, go around the other side and do it this way. When I had that done, if nothing come up, and we now know body parts would have come up, I'd then start removing the water, removing the slurry into some kind of a container, and then suck it out with the spreader from there. Because the slurry pit was very obvious. So people have asked me how I would have went around it. That's how I'd have done it. I wouldn't be happy till I had the slurry out and people down with boots on them. Normally there's about that much slurry left that you cannot get. And you could go in then with, waders and a grappling hook and pull away. Does that make sense? That's how I'd have done it. I think they just agitated it and pulled out the body, but it's supposed to be that parts of the body were found after they went to spread the slurry for agriculture. Do you know what I mean? That is when the contractor came in to take out the slurry, after it was all searched, he discovered body parts. And I'm just telling you folks how I would have done it. And in the Garda, there were often instances where I made my opinion and did often go by it. But when it came to promotion, down to the back of the queue, and there is the problem. Maybe I should have sent a note down and suggest that, but I don't like to interfere in Garda stuff. Some people think I'm still a guard. I'm retired 20 years and more. And I'm gone out of there. I don't even know who's who. I don't hear any. I think everyone has retired. So that's my story on this whole thing, just to let you know the law. Imagine there was no power to detain a person until 1984, except for the Offences Against the State Act. And all the guards could do was see was there damage to property not belonging to the suspect and arrest them for the Offence Against the State Act, which is a political act for political violence, really, and serious offences like terrorist type offences. And the government is very slow. There's only 5 scheduled offences. Drunk on the southerly is not one. Motoring offences. Embezzlement. Large stealing. You could steal the whole gold in the vaults of Dublin and you weren't under the Offence Against the State Act, but if you damaged the property, you were. And it wasn't meant to be that way. They meant the damage to be putting off an explosion at a building and blowing out the wall. That's what they meant. They didn't mean that a fellow with a frying pan would come under it. Gardaí had to try and make the law. And there was a case, there was a number of cases on that. But we leave it at that, folks. I hope I've explained that to you. My message to you is how stupid and how weakling our Fianna Fáil, F-I-A-N-N-A, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael governments were. They were in power, and so was Labour. And they couldn't bring out a bit of legislation to let the guards arrest a person for a crime and hold him in custody. The guard could arrest him or her, but he couldn't do anything, only charge the person there and then. And that was the law from 1922, when the state came into being, until 1984. If I'm counting that right, that's 62 years. Doesn't that tell you about your government and your voter? Comment underneath. Bye bye. Thank you.